Hi guys, welcome to Equilibrium Live. We made it. We're a bit delayed. Apologies. We had some technical hops, as we call them, but thank God it's all sorted. And we're slightly behind, but hopefully we'll be giving you the juice that you want. I'm Sarah Téibo. I'm a worship leader, singer-songwriter, gospel artist, and I love to dabble into all sorts of things like what I'm doing now. I'm very passionate about music business, and music ministry. And every Thursday, for those who've been following me since January, I've actually been doing something called Equilibrium, where for 1 minute, I try to spew out some wisdom nuggets on music business and ministry, and just, sharing the knowledge that I've gained over the course of the last few years. But today I thought we'll do something different. We'll actually extend it beyond a minute and delve into the topic of radio and streaming and the recent findings that I've made. But before I go into too much detail, I want to welcome our guests. So we have Lady T, who is a seasoned radio personality, TV presenter, podcast presenter, and all-round events host, and fun lady to be around. And she's going to introduce herself even more. And we have Roger Moore, who has been on the scene for a long time, and recently launched a new radio station called Affinity X. Why are you laughing? You've been on the scene for a long time. And we have Tayo from Transition Radio. And I have to say, we also had a guest from the US, Jerry Silver, but unfortunately, we were just not able to get, and that's one of the reasons we're a bit delayed, we're not able to get him on. So I'm probably going to have to do a one-to-one with him at a later date, but we just had to move on. So if you're tuning in because you wanted to hear Jerry, I'm so sorry that we don't have him now, but hopefully we can do a catch-up separately with him. Now, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please share the link. It's going to be a very interesting conversation, an engaging dialogue, which I'm hoping we can take some learnings away from. Now, the question that we've been asking, that I've been asking for the last couple of weeks is, can radio survive the next 10 years or whatever? We don't know. And I've been having some very interesting conversations with my mentors on the topic because 2 weeks ago, thereabouts, I did a survey, and some of you actually saw the results on social media, which was not many people, especially within a certain demographic, listen to radio. We are gonna unpack this and probably try and establish why, and moving forward, what can we do? But before we go any further, I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves, maybe tell us a fun fact that people probably don't know about you. And I will be starting with the lady in the house, Lady T.
Oh my gosh, of course. Why does it like the ladies have to go first now? It's just like, okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Lady T. I am a radio, as Sarah said, radio, TV, podcast presenter, and I also host events as well, lots of different events. So from music to corporate to fun and games, whatever. I'm your host. I'm doing radio for oh my gosh, it's actually going to be 14 years this year. Can't believe it.
Wow.
I know. I'm almost a veteran. Next
You
year it'll be veteran status in 2022. So that's going to be quite interesting.
Is that what it takes to be a veteran? 15 years?
I'm just saying it might be 20 years.
I have no idea.
I'm just putting it out there,
Yeah.
So
wow.
Yes, I've been doing that for that long, and I've also done artist management as well, consulting, and then at the moment now I'm the new chairperson for GMIA, which is the Gospel Music Industry Alliance, and it's it was formed to be the sort of body for UK gospel, because we didn't have a governing body or an organization that artists or people who are working in industry can look to or to go to for help or for resources. So, like you have like the BPI and all that kind of stuff. And, so that's what GMIA is now doing. And, we've recently relaunched in the last year and a bit now. So things are starting to move, and you're going to start seeing quite a lot of things happening over the next few months. So yeah, chairperson for that. And then my other co-worker, Mr. Moore, is on the board as well. So so that's
family affair.
Yeah, it is. So it's a whole new type of responsibility, but it's a great thing. It's I learning every day, but it's exciting times because obviously we've not had something for like something secure and consistent for UK gospel, so that people in the mainstream can look at us and say, okay, so who represents you, or who's for you, who speaks for you? And to now have GMIA functioning and doing all these great things, it's fantastic. So I'm excited for the next few years.
I can attest to that. I can
Yeah.
attest to that. So is that the fun facts, that you're in the GMIA, or that you're going to be a veteran next year, or what exactly?
Oh my gosh, my fun fact. What is my fun fact? Okay, so my fun fact is, I always say this because it is the truth. But 1, I hate eating peas, and 2, I hate grass. There you go.
What in the?
I love your faces. I love the faces. It's brilliant. I love seeing people's faces when I do that. They were like, "What do you mean?" I don't like grass. I just don't.
Yeah, like nobody likes grass. I don't know what you mean by you don't like.
I can't. I just walk on it, and I just.
So you don't go to the park when it's sunny. You don't lie on the grass, anything like that.
I don't like it, but because friends go and I have to go, so I have to suck it up and go and lay some stuff. If there's nothing, if I can't lay anything on to sit.
Look at Roger's face.
I'm not there.
Oh my days. And let's segue to you then, Roger. Introduce yourself. You better have a better fun fact than you don't eat grass. That's to eat grass. You don't like grass.
Oh man, it's exposure, but no, it's not exposure for me. Just the insight inside of my in terms of myself. As you can tell, I'm not from around the southern regions. I'm from the Midlands, and I've been doing gospel music from the mid to late 90s. I would say I'm the drum and bass generation, and from producing, I've been going into radios and really hitting radio from the traditional sense, in terms of getting my media pack together, printing it out, putting the CD in there, having a list, going through back in the day, Cross Rhythms magazine, and going through the list of promoters and actually interacting. So from that perspective, I've been on it. I think everyone probably knows me better for Gospel Link magazine or GL Live. That's almost my media tycoon days, I would say. I started then. And it is really a case of bringing a unbiased media. And I'll be honest with you, it was my frustration of going into The Voice and seeing the London biased magazine. But anyways, I was like, no, we fed up with this. So from the Midlands perspective, we wanted to bring a UK perspective. So I brought that along, and it was really, really well. And to be honest, I got told off by Birmingham people that I was too biased towards London. But anyway, I don't know how you get there. But even now, I'm doing Affinity Extra. I've actually not liked radio for all the time. I didn't believe in the platform. I didn't work in it. But then I got it when listening to Talk Sport. Yeah. I got what radio does, you know what I'm saying? And I got its influence, and I understood it more from listening to Talk Sport. I go, hold on, I need to listen to, so I got addicted to it. So then all of a sudden I end up being radio, and it sounds crazy. I do Affinity Extra, and behind that work with a fantastic bunch of creatives. And I think it's such a beauty to work with passionate people about me. The more passionate, I've worked with artists for so long, you have to realize I actually believe that the presenters and DJ are more passionate about gospel music than actually the artists themselves.
Oh, wow, that's very interesting. Being an artist, I find that very interesting to hear.
100%. You know what I'm saying? And
wow.
And they literally bleed for it. Now I can, so we can go more into detail about where it's at right now. And my fun fact is that I actually, I play football a lot, and I manage the most successful team, and manage actually still to this day, the most successful team ever in the West Midlands Christian football team. So we was offering, and we overtook everybody and beat all the records, and probably the most successful player ever in the league.
What's the name of the team?
so yeah, man. So Clarendon FC. So we annoy everybody because we are extreme Jamaicans, and we turn
okay.
Oh my god.
Which is very late. You know what I mean? Saying so we just go there and just beat teams all day long. But you know what? It's just really great working in a Christian league and working with young men. You know what I mean? Out there, and still at my young age, I still go there and still put in some good performances, man.
That sounds really good. Do you play against UK? I'm sorry, I said UK. Do you play against London teams?
No, because we can't breathe in the air there, because the air's so polluted.
Oh, whatever.
our lungs get affected, you know what I'm saying? But I can take them on because, you know, them boys stuff in it, you know. So, you know, but anyway, so cool. But anyway,
Anyway, onto Taya.
First and foremost, do you know what? You look quite young. So when you were talking about all your experience, I said, no, that's a lie. But you know what? That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. Oh goodness. But yes, my name is Dio. I go by the name of DJ Ty. I am a DJ presenter on the Transition on Tribe Urban Radio. Literally just got into the space just over a year ago. So this is sort of my first time in Christian music in the space. So yeah, a very, very different perspective. But outside of that, I'm a creative entrepreneur. I have an events and talent management company, artist manager, all around creative. I just love everything to do with music. Like I'm here for it. Whether it's like playing the instrument, singing, whatever it is, I'm there. So you know, that's kind of that's what I do.
And this is the thing, I think it's a good way to segue into the conversation, because I got that when we spoke last year. I was extremely impressed, and I don't know if it came across in our conversation when I spoke to you guys. I was like, goodness me, these young people have actually created a radio station because they want, you know, to bring more opportunities, or should I say more platforms or avenues, if you like, for Christian and gospel music to go to young people. Right. And it was just so refreshing for me to actually see that. So the Tribe Radio is Transition Radio part of the Tribe Radio, or is it vice versa?
Okay, so Tribe Urban Radio is the whole platform, and the Transition is one of the shows within the platform.
It's the show, right?
We are so fortunate because we are the only Christian show on the whole station, and they actually allow us to talk about everything and anything. We've not been censored for anything. In
Glory
the
to
music
God.
that we played, we've not been censored. We've literally spoken about every sort of topic you can imagine. So anything from sexuality to spirituality to like entrepreneurship to music. So yeah, so much favor.
That is really exciting. That is really cool. And so the entire Tribe Urban Radio is millennials, I could say, right? Younger people doing radio. So this kind of brings me to the point then, because, and I probably give some backstory as to why this whole thing came about. So being the artist that I am, and being the label thinker that I am, because I don't just think like an artist, I think like a label. I'm thinking business, I'm thinking strategy, I'm thinking, and this is why I do these equilibrium conversations every Thursday to kind of share. So I'm thinking my marketing plan. I've got an album coming out. How am I allocating my marketing resources? Where am I spending my money, and where am I getting results? So I just went off and asked people, where do you listen to music? You know, if more people are listening to radio than streaming, then I'll be like, okay, maybe I wouldn't stop spending on radio, by the way, but I'll at least reflect that in how I, do my marketing. And so I was very surprised, although I kind of sensed that, not many people listen to radio compared to streaming. The results for me were very surprising. Very few millennials, if any, actually responded that they listened to radio. And then I went online and did further research, because I just didn't want to rely on, a survey online. And I got told off by a few people, how many people answered your questions?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. But seriously, which is valid. It's valid, because I do that as well. If I see a survey, I'm like, yeah, how many people did you ask? So it's a valid question. But to be fair, I did also go online and do further research. And I realized that there was a trend over time, over the last probably 10 odd years, where it's been declining. It's not news to anyone, given. And I also spoke to a mentor of mine recently, and he actually analyzed it for me from even before we had TV. So we had radio before we had TV. TV came, took some of the share of radio, and then we had the freedom to buy music wherever we wanted, because before being able to buy vinyl and CDs, all you had was radio, and you only listened to what they give you, right? But then TV came, gave you more choice, and then the record stores came, gave you more choice. But he said radio's been surviving all of that, and now streaming is coming and doing the same thing. And he says radio would still survive, but radio has to keep evolving and responding to what, keeps being put to it. And so I'm going to put it to you guys first and foremost. What do you guys think is the situation today? Do you think that radio listenership is really on a decline, or have all those surveys and research, results just been, a bit of a decoy?
I don't. If it was in decline, we wouldn't have radio today. Like radio would have stopped. that's my thing. And when you look at it throughout the years, over the last about 100+ years with radio, when it first started to now, it has evolved. It's evolved with the time. So with each new generation of things that have happened in terms of advancement in technology. So, when you started with the analogs, and then you started with the FMs, and then you now started with the digital, it's all had to evolve, and that's what it does. And then you just find a new group of listeners in terms of radio, and that's what it's happened. And I think what really changed, what was really a game changer, was when DAB actually launched. When DAB launched, that was the real beginning of like the digital era for radio, because the way DAB transformed and reached millions more, because I don't remember if you guys remember when the whole country was going into digital first, the phase of going in digital first. So that was part of DAB for getting the whole country onto digital viewings and transmissions. So once that then happened, you then had this whole new group of people listening, because people just had to, back in the day, had to tune in and do this.
Oh yeah, of course.
Exactly. You remember that? So if you're listening and you're watching and you don't remember tuning your radio
and hearing static in between stations,
exactly, you are far too young. You are far too young. You need to go research.
Days, that is so true.
So it's literally evolved with technology, and now that you have the whole streaming kind of thing, it's completely different. But like I do feel like if radio was going to die, it would have died when DAB launched. Like it would have stopped.
But DAB
then.
is radio, though. DAB
it is radio. Yeah, exactly. So when the digital era, when it really came, if radio was going to die, it would have died then. But it hasn't. It's evolved, and it continues to evolve. And what you find with a lot of station controllers or station managers now, they're literally adapting to what the market is doing, to what the advancement in technology is doing. Technology is really driving everything that we're doing now. So you have to adapt to what the technological advancements are bringing in. So, but yeah, if it was going to die, it would have died a long time ago. But it's still going. So it's not going to die anytime soon.
Are you that optimistic, Roger? Are you as optimistic as Tolly, or do you have a different view? Especially given you kind of have stake in a radio station.
It'd be definitely worrying if I thought radios did. I think we have to realize that let's just probably even put a circle around it and put it down to Christian radio. I think that the reality show is that we see many Christian artists absolutely beg to be on a BBC One Extra, and they always salute and they always go on like that. And excuse me if I'm just straight to the point, but it's just the way I roll things. And you can sample.
I like you.
And you can sample that and put it on Instagram, and they can all hit me up afterwards. I'm cool with that. No one made me. So only my mom can talk to me. But anyway,
BBC,
everyone begs to be on BBC One Extra, so we know that there's power in radio. Yeah,
exactly.
And there's power in media. Yeah,
exactly.
I think over the years, I think that Christian radio has become like church, like 20 years. I always say that church stuff they're still wearing jeans from 20 years ago, and they were not really moving with the times. And what I feel that is that the reality show is why people are listening in, because we're influencers. We're not just playing music. We influence people from a perspective of even new music, but also life and culture and mentality. Yeah. And you get that through radio. And I feel that Christian radio don't bring culture, don't bring life. They just play the same by old Donnie McClurkin and Kurt Franklin. Yeah. And that's great. I can play that myself. But the reality show is, and one thing I did learn by doing my, the radio thing, and believe it or not, I'm not passionate about radio until I'm doing this thing.
Please don't say that out loud. Anyway. So you're not passionate about radio, but then
I was not, and it's just like something dawned on me, and I realized the power of it when I listening back to when we put all the music together. I'm going, yo, who's that person? And I'm shouting, and it inspires me. And I've learned so much doing my little lift show and actually searching. Before I was like, yeah, I'll bring over Lecrae, yeah, I'll bring over so and so. But when you're forced to actually look into the depth and breadth of gospel music, yeah, you bring more to the table than an algorithm. You bring it up because you're passionate about the artist. You can't do that on algorithms, you know what I mean? Because people pay to be on top of that, but you as a presenter, you do your research and you follow your niches, and you'll get artists that people go, yo, that's serious. So I really don't think that it's no pressure to the experienced people like T and so on, but we want our presenters to be celebrities, and I feel that we haven't captured that. We haven't had the Westwoods, we haven't had the people doing they just turn up, do an hour, go back home, and that's it. You know what I mean? And that's just me. And young people don't connect to that. Young people want to talk. They want to see you. They want to see what you're doing afterwards. They want to hear you talk about what they're going through right now. You know what I mean? They want to hear you when Derek Jackson flops. They want you to talk about Derek Jackson flopping. You know what I'm saying? If they want you to just be real and talk the realness right now. You know what I'm saying? And young people don't want to give about no. Oh, the Spirit of God is going through this track. Yeah, cool, man. But the one, you know what I mean? So it's that connection. You know what I'm saying? So that's just where I'm active with when it comes to radio. People want to connect with people.
Yeah, they definitely do.
And that's where I'm at. So Tayo's he's a few years younger, so he can say, yo, I did chat with you know, go for it, bro.
As a young person, I felt attacked. You know, we want the spirit to move as well.
This is such fun.
He said he went in the spirit as well.
Okay, so there's so many different angles to this whole discussion. There's the demographic side of things. I think to be fair, for me, I kind of stopped listening to music to radio like almost 10 years ago, to be fair. It was, you know, you had the Hearts and all of those, you know, I used to listen to all of that back in the day, but then to be fair, my reason for not listening to radio was a bit different. I have always not really wanted to listen to mainstream music. I've always wanted to go and find stuff that people want, like underground sounds, and kind of bring that to the forefront. So that's always been my personal thing. Not the same for a lot of people. So there's a demographic thing. I think I heard somewhere, you know, the older generation, because one, obviously that's something that they grew up on. That was something that was very much ingrained in their sort of the culture. They listen to that. And two, I think the reason why a lot of these stations play the same things is because the people who have the money that they want are those people, the older demographic. The people that have the disposable income are the older demographic. So if you're trying to get younger people, you get excitement, you get the hype. Most of them aren't going to be able to give you the, you know, help you to kind of pay the bills, as it were. So I think there's that side of things. Two, I think with digital, there's always been that whole thing, especially with streaming, about licensing issues. So if someone wanted to do a podcast, you know, there's been so many issues, even recently, about people not being able to actually license the music. And so while we still have that problem now, I don't think that we're going to be able to have all the, you know, there's so many people that talk about wanting to do music shows and, you know, all these things relating to music, but having to actually go. Yes.
There has been some change in that aspect in terms of having a music podcast, but you can only do it on a particular platform because of the music. So basically Spotify now have a feature where now it went through. Yeah, it's been certified, and you know, I've been listening to a couple. So basically, so as you say, so Spotify now have a feature on their because you know they bought out Anchor, so they own Anchor. Now, with that, you are able to have a music talk show, and basically any song in the Spotify library, if an artist is listed on there, you can actually insert it into your actual show. And then, which means when people listen to that podcast, that song gets streamed, that's extra stream for the artist, it's extra income. So that's
all my Equilibrium people, are you listening? You're my Equilibrium follower. Listen, get your song onto a podcast and get your streams. Anyway,
there you go.
Talk about that next time.
So there you go. So it's finding, like you said, it's finding new ways to be engaging, and to also it's a combating the whole licensing thing. Because Apple, I can guarantee you, very soon, Apple are going to be doing Apple are going to be doing the same thing to keep on board, to keep abreast of what is going on. So Spotify has started. Watch Apple, watch Amazon. 100%. They will all start doing it. It's extra income. It's just literally keeping it moving in terms of getting the money coming in.
It's just engaging. Tyler, I know you were saying something, Tyler, so don't lose your train of thought. But I'm just wondering, for radio, then is that could that be an option for radio? Say, for example, if according to Roger, there was this celebrity radio presenter who finishes their show on Affinity and then goes on to Spotify to either do the same show or maybe, like, I don't know, have a version of the show on Spotify or do another show on Spotify. Could that be a way of a radio station having a presence digitally or in the streaming space, kind of squeezing themselves into the streaming space? I don't know. I don't know what the dynamics are.
No, 100%. We do with some of our exclusive shows. We put them onto different platforms. We put them on SoundCloud. We put them on Extra Demand. One thing I did say to the team about, you know, listening back to shows, I think we've missed a lot of our heritage from not recording our shows over the past 30, 40 years. So we've had all these BBC presenters and we've lost the sound that only older people can talk about, you know, and for me, it's real important that we capture it. Now, something I want to talk about elders, Teo mentioned about older people. Now, believe it or not, older people like hip hop. Believe it or not, older people like music that's cool. It's a myth that I think it's a lot of tunnel vision, Teo, to be honest, that the reality show is they get in their cars and they crank up the Jay-Z, they crank up the Missy Elliott, they crank up the SWV, they crank up all the latest tunes out there, they crank it up. So for me, it's a myth, I believe, that we play Donnie McClurkin still and Kurt Franklin because it's to keep the older people happy, because the reality show is that my age group are the ones that's apparently got money, and the reality show is that we don't sit down all day long listening to Kurt Franklin. So it's just a bad habit of lazy presenters but still playing the same thing they played in 1998. So it's called Step Up Your Game, change with the times, and be relevant, because there's big man presenters on Capital Extra, on One Extra, who keeps with the times and plays the old jams. But people just want to play their favorite tracks and not evolve.
We're
Let Taya jump in on that one.
I hear that.
But go on.
But wait, okay, because this is actually this is just for my information.
Yeah.
So what's the demographic for the people that be listening to One Extra? Who's actually listening to that? Because in my head, it's not gonna be like for me, I'm probably capping it at, like, let's say 45. Anyone above that, I don't really see them listening to you know what I'm saying? I don't really see them listening to Jay-Z as much. They're probably looking back to what they were listening to beforehand. Hence where you got, you know.
It's probably Jay-Z.
He's been around for a while, you know.
To be fair, he's been around since he's been around for a while. But you know, hence why you've got what I've seen so far is you have a lot of people who listen to, like, your hearts, like your soul, R&B, like the older sort of when I say older, I'm talking about
the mature stations. The oldest. We do.
And so from that perspective, that's kind of where that whole sentiment was coming from. So no. Well,
it's true. But the reality show is they'll listen to other stations if they want a certain style. But I do feel if you really look at the Christian radio landscape of gospel Christian music radio shows and stations, what's the average that they're playing? What are we really putting out there? And the music that we have out there, the Joey Vantes, the No Big Deal. There's so many young creative. The young guys coming through drill. There's a whole heap of music out there. There's more music than ever that's accessible.
Can I ask a question though?
Go on.
What if they're not being sent the songs? And I don't know what your experiences have been as presenters. Do you actually? I don't know. I mean, I know I send my songs. You guys probably are tired of me, but do you actually get the songs?
Do what?
You're on job.
Go on.
Okay.
I'm gonna have a heart attack.
What was the question again, Sarah?
Music.
Because you're talking about, you know, stations not playing the fresh music, but do the artists actually reach out and send the songs? I don't know. What's your take on that?
So I think some artists do. There are some artists who are quite regular, like who are on the ball with sending music in. There are others that don't. Now, for me, if I rarely approach artists for music, like, oh, send me your song. I'll only ever get in contact with you if I really like it. If we've never played it on the station, or if I've never played it, or something we've not been aware, and I'm like, whoa, this is good. And I've done it on many occasions, like where I used to work, and even now. There's 9 times out of 10, I will message you and say, hey, listen, I work for the station. Can we get your songs? Is your song playing on radio? 10 out of 10, I can say, they say no, it's not. And I'm like, wow. Okay, send your
But
music in.
they say no, they don't want to play. They don't
No.
want
I said, sometimes I'll say, is there any other radio stations playing it? They were like, no. And I'm like,
oh, right.
I'm like,
Right.
okay. I don't know why you don't think radio is important, but but I play it anyway. But I don't always go out looking, because I'm like, look, as an artist, if there's, I will say this and I will continue to say it until,
The cows come home.
As an artist, when you're going into something, learn the business, learn the different mediums to promote your music. Now there's digital. Digital is not the only thing. Streaming is not the only way to promote your music. You have the streaming platforms, great. You also have these blogs that are playing. These blogs are still there. These online media blogs, they are still there. They are evolving, not just to doing written content, but they're now doing visual content as well. That's another way to promote your music. Do you get what I mean? And then there's also radio. Radio will always be there no matter what. Radio should always be in your plan for promoting your music, because you just never know. Because gone are the days where if you're an artist back in the day, your music, if you're going to promote music, you'll be using billboards, you'll be using posters, you'll be doing this and that to try and reach certain people. You have street teams doing this. Obviously,
which is still valid. No, it is still valid. If you have the budget, it's valid to be.
Yeah. But now, like I said, if you're coming into this, learn about the different marketing ways, the way you promote your music, the platforms that you promote your music. It's important to actually maximize all of it, because on one media sort of outlet, there's a certain demographic, there's a certain audience. You're trying to reach you're only trying to reach an audience, but that audience is not there. But that audience is on the other side. So are you going to tell me you're just going to keep to that one and not go and...
Absolutely. And this is exactly why I'm having this conversation, because I was doing that homework. That is exactly the homework I was doing when I realized, hold on, one demographic is on one end of the spectrum and another demographic is on another end of the spectrum. Is there even a middle point? That was my main concern was, but no, Tayo has proven us wrong, because he's a millennial. They have a radio station. They play only Christian music. So we can't discount the fact that young Christians still listen to radio. It'd be interesting to know, Tayo, if your stats show that younger people listen to your station, for example.
Yeah, I mean, most of the feedback that we've gotten have been from younger people. I think so I think part of it is social media. With social media, we get so much information. And obviously with the younger generation, you have a lot of people who are thought leaders. They know what to do. If you follow my 3-step plan, you'll get 1 million streams. And people are literally following, all right, cool. So I know that I'm dropping my song. So I need to send it to Spotify and to send it to Apple at least before the song goes out. So hopefully I can get put into the editorial playlists, and then hopefully the song will come out, and then I'll get my reach. But there's no plan, there's no marketing plan behind it. They don't understand the role of other platforms. So for me, the way I look at radio is that it may not be as big as you expect it to be. It may not give you all the views that you want, but you use that as part of the hype that you're building. You use that as part of the buzz that you're building. So if I want to even pitch to a playlist, I'll let them know, actually, I've been on this and this and this local radio. I've done this and this and this. Even because with the artists that I manage, that's what we did. We got a couple of radio plays. And when it came to actually booking, trying to get a certain gig, which was like an invite-only gig, that's how we pitched it. And he went straight through and he ended up being the headliner. So there's no, a lot of these people, okay, let me even be specific. The Christian scene versus the secular scene, because I get because I DJ on both sides, right? And I get music from secular people coming into. In fact, I'm so far behind, it's ridiculous. Every single day I get at least 50 songs every single day, and I've only just started getting put onto these lists. Now, with all the Christian people that I've dealt with, most of them don't know how to put together an EPK. Most of them don't know. They'll send me a song and it says ABC song mastered 3.7, and then you look at the bit rate and it's like 96. For those who don't know what I'm talking about,
I
it's
do.
really, really badly quality, or they
Yes.
download their own song. They'll download their own song from YouTube to send it to me, and it's kind of like these basic things. So, I did a
This is why I do
a
equilibrium, this is why I do this.
And this is why again, like Tyra, what you said, like I
Oh
said,
my
when
goodness.
I said before about the education part, learning what you're going into, this is so important. And this is one of the reasons why like GMIA is so important, because we are the way that we are really hammering in terms of like this education, like knowing your thing. Because if you don't know it and you fail, don't come and blame people for not supporting you because you didn't do the groundwork. So you need to do this. So that's why, like, when because our well, not fight, but our real mission is to really try and get millennials, like your age group, understanding who are artists. Like, you see, like, it's great that you're doing this, but you need to understand the mechanics. You need to understand the business behind this thing. We're giving you the resources. Come and learn how to do it. This is what you need. If you want to succeed, this is what you need. So that's the challenge now that GMIA have in terms of making sure these artists are actually understanding what they need to do. Like exactly what you said. I've seen it. Yeah.
Roger's looking to say something.
Teo, you raised a point there, about the secular scene, and I think that sometimes we in some sort of myth when we become Christian artists, we think that God's gonna somehow make us, catapult us into stardom. I am saying, and it's just like, let me just be straight with people, man. Like, like these, it's frustrating. It's one of the most painful things that radio. Christian DJs, Christian radio DJs. I say Christian because I know that there's artists that the only reason why you get a BBC One Extra because you actually send it to them. Yeah.
Yes.
So how on earth, and something that involved my name similar to Roger Moore, but I remember watching Roger Moore doing the interview, the actual real one. He's a bit lighter than me. And he said on the way up, you make sure you take care of everyone, because when you're on the way down, they're there to support you. And the reality show is some people get to the heights, but they don't talk to us. So when their situations kind of like change and they need to go, we're like, who are you? Oh, Sugar, I ain't got none of your music for the past 2-3 years, and I don't really play your playlist. And I think it's really important. It hurts artists that love Christian music. We've been doing this for 20 odd years, and we love to see young, fresh talent, and they can't be bothered. Yeah.
And I think part of the reason is because they might have this misconception that radio is not important, you see.
But the thing is,
even though my survey, sorry to interrupt you there, Roger, but even though my survey showed that there was a leaning to that, I wanted to actually maybe prove that to be wrong, because if people have that misconception, if I talk to people, like I'm asking you in church, where do you listen to music? Oh, I listen to YouTube. I'm asking people on the street, where do you listen? I listen to Spotify, and I'm an artist, and I don't get a well-rounded view. I could go away with that misconception that all I need to do is put my music on YouTube and Spotify. I don't need to bother about radio. So it could well be that, that finding is something that other people have discovered without digging deeper. And so they've gone off to say, well, I don't need radio. Could there be that as well? Could that be part of the problem?
But the reality show is their peers at the same age are doing the radio, who's not doing gospel, who's not doing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So end of the day, the mindset's there. They're just really lazy when it comes to getting the relationships. And listen, we will push these guys. And the reality show is, I said this to T, and I'll be honest with you guys, man. As you can imagine, I'm an honest guy. When we get phone calls about doing gigs, when we get phone calls for doing awards, we push people who we're talking to because we have a relationship and we know the people. So if you want to get them on, if you're sick aside of seeing the same 5 people go for the awards every year, no hint. I'm not saying that we have, it's okay moaning about it, because I moan about it. But the thing is, if you don't have a relationship with industry people, I've been around from 1995, so I know a few people. So I'm not saying that Roger's the God, far from me. But you got Sister T, you've got Teo, you got all these people that that know the industry, communicate, have relationship, and they'll be like, yo, Lecrae's coming over. So tell you what, yo, my boy, he's got a good attitude. He's got a good vibe. I have a relationship with him. I trust him to go and do this gig because we don't. It's what we don't trust and we don't have a relationship with. So if you're fed up with the gigs of being one-dimensional, now it's time to step out. So it's a trade secret. Yeah, I want to put forward what I have a connection to.
Yeah, and it's about character, like as well. There's also many different things as an artist, what you're doing. It's also about your character, how you behave and how you come across. And again, building that relationship with the artist, or not with the artist, with the radio station that you're with, because you just never know. Like, I've had artists in the past and say to me, "Oh, why is this person nominated for an award again?" Blah 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 blah. I'm like, because they're consistent. Pretty much, because if you're consistent, you would be up there as well. But you're not, and you're complaining that this, that, and this. But they've been doing their thing. They're out there. They're putting music out and stuff like that. And now I actually have zero tolerance. I'm like, yeah, but what are you doing?
Oh my goodness!
I'm being serious. I have absolutely zero tolerance, and I'm just like, yeah, but what are you doing though? And if it offends you, I'm sorry, but it's just the way it is. So don't complain. Just continue to do standard, just standard, And I think, and also some artists do, I think they kind of disrespect Christian media because you're chasing the mainstream who ain't looking for you, who don't know nothing about you. And you're chasing extra. You're chasing capital extra. You're sinking money into radio promoters who won't play who you think that will play your songs, or you think you have a connect. But it's just like you're disrespecting the media, the music that you're producing. You're disrespecting the media that could actually potentially help you get to where you want to go to. Because sometimes now, One Extra and all these other stations. If your music has not been played on another station, you can't show them that it's been played on a different platform, like someone like like a Christian, like an Affinity Extra or Premiere. Yeah, you ain't gonna get played.
That's a big secret right there.
You're actually not gonna get played because they're actually looking. Because you'd be surprised that people who are connected from mainstream and looking to us. And they will ask
a mistake we sometimes make as artists is we don't keep track of stuff. We don't even have any, like Roger says, or I think maybe Ty, or any proper EPK, proper comms that go out with us. We don't update our bios regularly. Like every time I do something new, I update my bio. If you see a bio from me today, it would include my #1 from my recent Victory single. But if you're not even keeping track of that, then you might not even know to include those when you go to BBC or whoever to start with. So I think, again, to your point, Tolu, there's a lot of learning and training that needs to be done. But one of the concerns I have is that if people don't actually value, it's like, taking a horse to the river, but they don't even want to drink. So if there isn't that sense of desire for something and it's there, then it's just not going to be taken or received or even,
and that's for me, that's your problem.
Valued. I know, but I'm just saying, I feel like there's that as well. I could be completely wrong, but I suspect there's an element of not really caring. And I think if I were to go down to the root of the problem, not for everyone, but for some, the fact that we're Christians is a part of the problem, because to some degree, which is why I do this equilibrium thing, spiritual and business, ministry and business, to a degree, we tilt a lot on the ministry side. We tilt a lot on the spiritual side. God gave me this song, I'm going to sing it exactly how I saw it in my sleep. It's like, how about taking a good step away from the song, refine it, give it good structure, and make it something that is viable commercially. Yes, it's ministry, but you do want people to pay for the song, so make it something you can actually sell, and not just go, okay, I received the song and I'm literally, I've heard people say that. So people give me songs to review, and when I give them feedback, by the time I finish, they're like, well, here's the thing, God gave me the song this way. Well, so, and it's still, so the point I'm making is that's the spiritual side, which is important. But I always give this analogy when Jesus cleaned, and again, it's just an analogy, I'm not a theologian, but when the blind man came to Jesus and he healed him, he spat in the sand, made a mixture, rubbed his eyes, and the guy saw men as trees. And then he applied it again and washed his face, and then he saw properly. Sometimes what God gives us, especially as creatives, is a diamond in the rough. It needs to be refined. And I also use this other analogy. Noah was given instruction to build the ark. I don't know that he was a carpenter. I don't know that he studied joinery, but he would have taken time to go and watch people who build boats. I suspect he would have taken, and God gave him a blueprint, mind you. I suspect he would have taken time to go and watch what animals don't eat each other, so he doesn't put them side by side in the ark. Yeah. No, seriously, there will be some thoughts that would have been put into when God gives you a blueprint. You need to develop yourself. The Bible says that fan to flames the gift that he's given you. We have to refine the gift that he's given us. And I feel like, as much as we're talking about radio, I don't know why we've segued into this, but there's an element of there's a knowledge gap. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
There is a knowledge gap that we probably want to also address, maybe on another equilibrium, because we're talking about radio today. Anyway, Roger.
No, 100%. No, it's fantastic for radio, but also what we need to realize as well is that, you know, when I see people, we're not a collective community. We are absolutely one of we're stink community when it comes to supporting each other. I feel like the artists are against media. I feel like they don't push. They don't. You know, I always said to the presenters when I'm bringing together to Affinity Extra, you can ask all of them. I says, yo, taking all pictures. You are artists in your own right. You know what I'm saying? You can ask all the presenters, like, I don't want to take photos. Forget this. I believe in you, and I want you to be up there 100%. And something that really annoys me is that basically that we've got to spend and we got to dedicate our special time towards young artists and coming through. But the reality show is that how much time do they dedicate themselves to support the media platforms that put there? And there's been secrets from America. I know the likes of Rapzilla, everyone looks at now, it's because of major, I don't want to go into too much details, have supported them, not only financially, but also branded wise, and they get shared. And when you're sharing artist music, and then they literally just blank you and just carrying in the life, and then they share and when they get a little Grime Daily video, they share it like 50 times in 1 hour. You know what I'm saying? And sorry, I'm going to tell
They legit do. They do.
And then when I'm BBC One Extra, they're on there, like,
Bless.
screenshot and they're like, yeah. But when you look at Affinity Extra, bun them, forget it's not. They don't realize that we are here to support you, and we will always be supporting you. You know what I'm saying? And the reality show.
Can you say that again, Roger? Because I'm gonna take a screenshot of that and put it on Instagram.
Oh,
Say that again.
What accent shall I do this? You know, now to be honest,
no, seriously though, yeah.
No, we're 100% here to support the artists. But the reality show is, are they here to support the actual wider network? We're actually almost like a diva mentality, which actually probably stems back to the way we do church. Because they just see a central thing all around one person, with everybody else just being on the side way, and no one's being empowered. Maybe it's a habit that they brought from the way they see church, where it's not about serving the community, it's about empowering themselves. I'm not saying church is all bad, far from it, but sometimes some of the habits that we bring are seen Christendom. It's sometimes habits that we see when how we get taught and how we being discipled, you know what I mean? And we bring them bad habits out into the community, because we should be the best, we should be the most loving, we should be taking, according to the Bible. It's okay saying we're back in Bible right now, we're talking about Noah, but the actual show is that the fundamentals are we should be doing it, but we're not doing it. And I'm seeing it happen when I see 50 man full up One Extra, and they're just doing. General Levi's 55 years old, how old he is. He'll go into the studio now, and you have 100 man in there, all going the same one tune.
The same tune over.
You've seen Dwayne Trans go into the studio in any Christian studio, you see nobody in there.
100%.
That's our community. That's our community. Full stop.
It's the unity.
Just it's a lot. It's a lot. There's unity, definitely. There's definitely the knowledge side of things, because I'm connected to two groups of most of like the young UK artists in the country. Like one of the groups I'm in fact, both of them, there's at least 100 people in there. There's so many people, most of whom, as I said, they don't know how to do the basics, which is not, it's not a bad thing. But what I find for me, I find it a bit bewildering is the fact that I'm a Christian, and obviously me, like, you know, I love music, and I wanted to get into the industry, and I wanted to be able to do stuff and put out output. So as soon as I moved back to London, I started studying. I couldn't find the Christian. I didn't know anything about Christian music, hence why I've only just got into the space. I knew nothing about Christian music. All I knew was Kirk Franklin and called out music because he came to my university. Like that was it. I came back to uni. I came back to London, and I started studying. I started studying about the industry. I started studying how radio works. I started studying, but part of it was the market. Like I think everything marketing. So I kind of already have a story to tell people, but it was kind of like, I find that some people are still trying to drop with no promo.
So on that note, Tayo, and I'm going to go around from you through to Tolu and then to Roger. Is that if there was one or two things that you could give artists as advice? And we're going to come back to the subject of radio, because my big question is, can radio survive the next 10 years, and what specific things can be done? But given that we've kind of segued into this issue of, yes, radio wants to support, but we're not getting the engagement from artists, probably because there's a knowledge gap, or probably because, as Roger says, they're looking outside than in. What one or two tips can you actually give artists, to help them, even if it's a practical thing, which is why I'm very keen on equilibrium, practical things in 1 minute, if you can, say, okay, this is one thing or two things that you can do. Maybe talking about submissions, for example, and I'll come from you to Tolu and then to Roger.
The first thing I'll say is that this stuff that we're talking about, it feeds so heavily in. I guess we speak heavily from the Christian scene, and there's still a secular scene to be spoken about, but it feeds heavily into what's going on with the decline in listenership in radio. But the first thing I would say, please, artists, especially if you're new, learn how to submit music to the different platforms. And side note with that, don't like CC every person that you're trying to send your music to in the same email. I get a lot of those too. I don't want to see capital. I don't want to see, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to see all that. So personalize
BCC, if you need to.
Please. So that's tip number one. And tip number two, and I think this actually speaks to a mindset. Don't think about the financial part of this whole music industry as being a bad thing. Because every time I speak to someone about, try how to monetize their art, or how to make sure that, they get in place so that they can have the resources to do other projects they want, they say things like, oh, it's just for the kingdom, it's for the kingdom, it's for God. And I mean, God's given us the resources, right? Let's use the resources we have. If we all know that money gives us the freedom to make choices. Don't look at it as a thing of, oh, we're being, money is the root of all evil, all those sorts of things. You're not being a bad person by wanting to actually support yourself. So those are the two main things I would say, and the two most limiting things I've found so far.
Okay. Lady T. So I think to summarize, sorry, you've talked about BCCing, just more like email protocol, BCC or recipients, and then ensure you have a budget, or should I say, have a budget for marketing, essentially. Is that what you're saying, Tolu, the second point? Yeah. Tayo, I meant to say.
I mean, yes, but it speaks more so to the mindset. It's like, don't look at making money from music as a bad thing. I think that's more so the important thing.
That's a bad thing, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So expect to make money from your music.
Not to expect to, but okay. So what I'm trying to say is that I find that a lot of artists get scared of when we talk about money in music together, because it's kind of like, I'm not doing this. I'm not trying to, get carried away with the money side of things. I'm doing it for God, right? But actually not understanding that finances and budgets are a very, very important part of this whole process.
Okay. Cool. Oh, my turn?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just trying to share the thoughts as well. So
okay, so when it comes to radio and, wanting to submit, I guess I can talk about the submission of music to radio, but I will say this first. As an artist, if you're an artist and you're coming into this industry, don't be naive coming into something that you don't know anything about, or you don't know who's who, before you even think of releasing, go and, I will always say it again, like I said it before, go and learn about the industry. You have no excuse. And for me, they said I have to give grace. I will give small grace, but we're all grown. We've all got minds. We can read. Do your research. Do your research about the industry. Do your research on who's who, the stations that you need to be sending music to, the different platforms that are out there, which Christian media outlets are there. Find them. There are places now where you can get them as to who's who. Okay, go and do that research. When it comes to submitting your music to radio, and Taya did touch upon this about the quality of your music. You need to have an EPK. EPK is simply an electronic press kit. That is so vital for all presenters, for any radio station, including your BBCs, your Capitals, your KISS. They all need an EPK, and it has to be like, it needs to look like you spent money on this thing, even though you didn't spend any money on it. Okay, you need to have good photographs. Your bio needs to be spot on. Your a blurb on what the song is about. It has to have. And nowadays, you need to have MP3 and WAV files of the song, because some presenters like WAV files, some presenters like MP3s. I know I like MP3s. Okay, give the presenter the option. Okay, the station option to have whichever one that they want. Don't just put MP3 and then they've got to now go and spend another 2 to 5 minutes trying to convert it into a WAV file. Have both formats available for them. Make sure that your pictures are up to date, they're up to scratch, your bio is clean, the music is there, and then you send it off. There's Dropbox, there's WeTransfer, email introduction, get the name of the station or the name of the presenter right. All these things are really, and start to build a relationship with that station. Start to build a relationship with the presenters. If you know the presenters on Instagram or on Twitter, hit them up in the DM. Hey, my name is this. I've got some new music. Please, could you check it out and let me know what you think? If you like, could you play or whatever? And that's fine. Also, this one thing. Do not expect or be guaranteed that your music is going to be played. It's not a guarantee. Let me just tell you that right now. Your music is not guaranteed to play on the radio. I get sent tracks. Sometimes I'm like, I can't play this, and I won't play it. If you ask for feedback, they'll give it to you. People have asked me for feedback on their song, and I have done it. Send the music in. If the presenter says, unfortunately, no, that's fine. Keep it moving. When you release something else again, they might just play that. Because you have to remember the station has standards. If you listen to the sound and what they're producing, your music needs to fit that standard. Okay. So like if someone like, Becca Folks is sending me a music, which is absolutely great. You're sending me music. I may not pitch your music against someone like Kirk Franklin, but I might pitch your music against someone like Becca Folks. She produces good quality. Is yours as good as Becca Folks? If it isn't, it ain't getting played. It's just a standard that you have to have quality. You have to have excellence.
Do you typically give constructive feedback each time, or how does that work for art? Okay, right.
So if you ask for it, and and here's another thing, you can ask the presenter, okay, please check out my music. Please, could you provide some feedback for me on what you think? If you do that in the email, 9 times out of 10 they will do it. I know I will do it. That's just me. But like I said, sending your music to radio is not a guarantee for it to be played. So this here right here, it needs to start building some thick skin.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just chip in, talking about the EPK, I've helped a number of people prepare EPKs. I've helped people submit music to stations where they've been previously rejected. And when I helped them put their EPK together, they got played.
Accepted.
So if you're watching and you need help, just let me know. Just DM me, Sarah Téibo Music, and I can give you a guide on even the subject of your email. The subject of your email when you're sending, and you guys can attest because you received my emails, you have to say you're asking for it to be considered. You're not saying play my song. So I'm sending you my song for consideration for airplay. Those kind of things. You're not going, here's a song, play it, So we can if you need help, I can always advise. Roger.
Oh man, them guys kind of covered most of everything. I think I just gonna probably just nice it all up. If you do, obviously we're focusing on what artists can do.
Yes, just want to
You know,
help because we've
you know,
we've
help.
kind of
Yeah,
bashed them a bit.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think it'd be nice to give
yeah.
some
You
some
know,
tips as well. Because
we
I'm an
just
artist, you say.
it's called a gentle hug,
Yeah, fair
and
enough.
little grips at the end. But I think that on top of what T says, somebody DJ Mark said about be ready to receive the feedback that you're not prepared to hear. But I think also we
That's
realize
a good
that
one.
I think artists are very fragile people because they're extreme creatives are very fragile people, and
Yeah, I agree.
from a flip side of things, presenters need to be careful because it just
Yeah.
affects people mental well-being.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
remember, and also, genuinely, people do not spend out your pocket and murder yourself and destroy your life to try and make us happy as well. Because sometimes people overdo it financially and then destroy their own. We don't see any more music from a very talented artist as well. So we want you to show a bit of wisdom. And going back to the point that T made in terms of do your research. It could be as simple, guys, as just having 20 Christian. Yes, we all know the main secular ones. Yeah, we all know that. But as a Christian artist, just target 20 platforms. Yeah, because we have to say platforms, not directly radio per se, but radio is obviously the hub of it. But just target 20 platforms that you email and you give quality time to call them back, to find a contact, to call them. Because as Teo says, when you have 50 emails a day, you're not even clicking, you're just almost guessing. But if somebody actually gets on top of your list by a quick phone call, quick message, you're like, oh, sugar, oh, yeah. And you listen back to it thinking, oh my God, when all of a sudden you're top of the list. And that's when relationship comes in. And that's how your music gets onto the top of a lot of things. So my encouragement is really to create a relationship and conversation and again, ask for positive feedback. But the flip side is, as presenters, we need to take time. As much as you see, I'm a nice guy to talk to, believe it or not.
I know that.
You know what I'm saying? So in terms of positive feedback, I'll be 100% giving there. But we're passionate about this because we just love gospel music. If we wanted to really do something else and really make good money, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing and dedicating our lives to a format which like, God, why am I doing this? Literally, you know what I'm saying? So just show some love and we'll just love you all day long. You know what I'm saying? 100%.
Honestly,
100%.
it's Go on, Tyro.
I was gonna say, I think that there are certain I won't say their names, but there are certain artists who they've built relationships. They've been super cool. They've every time that they submit their music, they submit it properly. When you share it, they always message you individually to say thank you. I really appreciate it. And one person actually sent me a voice note. He actually called me and said, you know what, I really appreciate the play. And I said, you know what, I'm playing your music. I don't even care. I'm playing it. Obviously, make sure it's good. I'm playing your music. And it's just because of it's just the little things that make such a big difference. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And I think that relationship building is important. Like Tyro said, I've had some artists that I know that are consistent. I will always get their music and it's not a thing. So, and just build that relationship with them. It's so important to build the relationship with not just with the presenters, but with the station in general. Like, and here's another thing. My artist, if a station, tweets your music, tweets your playing of your song on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, do your due diligence and actually acknowledge it and respond to it. Because sometimes there are times now where I just don't bother tweeting some of the artists anymore. Like I might mention them on Instagram and some of them might, if you're watching, you know who you are. I'll just sometimes put them, I'll just tag them. I'm gonna play, I'm gonna tag them on Instagram and play their music. Half the time I'm not gonna do it on Twitter because I'm just like, I'm taking my time out to tweet you to say like, yo, we as a station, we see you, we acknowledge you, we're playing your music. And if you can't be bothered to Acknowledge and do that. And sometimes I'm just like, see, I don't think you understand. These little things are so important.
They're very important.
They're so important. They go an absolute long way. Acknowledging and respecting the station that you're played on, and not just focusing on the mainstream that, I got to get my song on One Extra, I got to get my song on Kiss or Capital. They ain't checking for you. They're not going to be looking for you. They're going to want to know what your past history is. But for the platforms that are there specific to your genre, if you're playing Christian music or gospel music, there's plenty of them there. You need to start looking to them. You need to start just building and connecting with those stations. And of course, the education part, like, that education is so important. When there's workshops on how to get your music played on radio, how to register your songs, or business plans or marketing plans, or these little workshops, when they offer them, please go. They're not that expensive. Look, if you can buy yourself a McDonald's, a Zara outfit, or Gucci, whatever, Fendi, this, whatever, okay? It's not going to cost you that much to invest in your music, in the business side of your ministry. It is so important. You need to balance that as an artist. So I just hope that as you listen and you write these tips down, it's going to help you in longevity in terms of your career. So radio is very important to your marketing plan. Like, don't dismiss it. Just really don't dismiss it.
Can I just quickly add on that? I just want to help someone just very, very quickly. Do you know how many free resources there are? There are so many free on Instagram, Facebook. There are group. I did depend, obviously, is there are a lot more opportunities if you're between under the age of 25. So if you're under the age of 25, I'm gonna help you real quick. I did a free course last year. It was the creative. It was Music Ally. They did a creative entrepreneur course. It went on for about 6 months, and they literally went through everything, the basics of everything, music business, and we literally worked with artists. So artists and managers work together to come up with release timelines and career plans for the next year. And it took you through social media marketing, all those sorts of things. Music Ally, check them out. Young Guns Network, check them out. Christian people who are looking for platforms, this is your starting point.
How do you say that? Young Gun, what? Sorry, I'm just putting
Young Guns Network.
Right.
And they have a Facebook page they have a page on Instagram as well. But if you're looking for more Christian platforms, start with a Step Forward. They have a directory, and it literally lists out Finny Extra is on there. So many platforms.
Listen, they have everything.
Everything's there.
Exactly. So a Step Forward, if that's your number one place to start, and these guys have only been around for like 7 years or whatever, start there, and you will see the radio stations, you will see the marketing people, you will see your promo people, you will see publishers, you will see every single type of people in the industry, business side of things that you need. They are there. Producers, it's there, and I think they're even building it and even revamping it as well. So all those things are there for your resources. And when you start there, you'll find yourself going down a rabbit hole where you'll find a whole lot more people that exist in the industry. Okay. You will find a lot more. And that's where you need to start doing. Start one and then literally go.
Yeah.
Go from there.
That is really helpful. There's been like 8 nuggets already that have come out, and I've put them up on the screen. Hopefully people watching can actually see them. And hopefully when I repost this on Instagram, I'd also put them in a caption so people can take that away. And if there's any handles for like Young Guns and so on, I'll put the handles as well so people can just go directly to those pages. Hopefully that'll be useful. Okay, so if you're watching and you're it's late, I'm tired. If you're watching and you are an artist, I'm hoping that you found this useful. Dave, Paul, I've just come onto the chat.
Yeah, no, I was just watching.
And
he's getting emotional about it.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh goodness me. There's a lot going on. I've just seen there's a lot going on the Facebook and YouTube chats, which is great. I mean, hopefully people watching back can also get some nuggets from there. Yes, Roger.
No, and it's great we're talking about artists now. I want to flip it back onto radio as well.
Yep.
I want to challenge radio productions, radio presenters or media hubs and whatsoever, is that evolution is key. and I think that we need to look at what makes radio, like, you know, you can ask T probably every 3 weeks. I'm going, yo, right, what do we need to do different? I'm wrapping my head, because I do appreciate the fact that basically the stats ain't fantastic. We're fighting it almost, you could say it's not a losing battle, but we're fighting the battle to get new listenership.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask that question. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And it is tough, and I'll do shout out to radio people who love their art, and it's very, very tough to gain attention when you're not, you know, getting the love that you would like to think about, and you haven't got a galvanized community. We haven't got a galvanized community that meet together, that communicate online together, and it says, yo, we're listening to so and so on this station, then we're gonna flip onto another station. So it's very, very hard to work in ungalvanized Christian music scene in the UK. But the reality show is that, you know, my encouragement is to them is to kind of be, just, you got to be creative, you got to be multi-platform, you got to look at, you know, I mean, the One Extra is not only big because of the radio, you know, it's Instagram, it's you go on there, YouTube is massive, you know. I don't listen to One Extra, I watch the YouTube, and I watch the Instagram.
It's interesting you say that, because I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they're watching now, if they're still on, and we kind of segued into that analogy, or should I say example, of BBC One Extra. And I said, could it be that is the new, you know, way forward? Because I really wanted to wrap this conversation up by looking at the way forward, because as you say, it's evolving, and if radio doesn't respond, it's all well and good we're saying artists should send their music to radio, but then if they can only identify certain platforms that are all encompassing, so they're traditional but they're on YouTube, you can see them on Instagram, they're probably going to lean naturally, you know, rightly or wrongly, towards the places where they can get more visibility. Right. So the question is, do we think that that's the future? So not just having a presence on, you know, terrestrial or DAB or whatever, but looking at a presence. Because when we started this conversation, Roger, there's two things you said that I was going to circle back to. The first one was that you said you weren't really into radio, but then you listened to some sports shows, and that got you interested. That in itself is a conversation that's happening, that's sucking you in, not just the music. And that is an aspect that could be looked into. The second thing that you just mentioned was in terms of evolving and having, oh God, what was the other one? Oh Jesus, just got out of my head. But anyway, talking about the conversation, you know, the other one was a celebrity status. So we want to have artists, you know, presenters who are not just talking about the next song is X, you've just listened to Y, but who are actually personalities who've got charisma. So could those two dynamics, plus the whole social media presence and the YouTube presence, be the things that could save radio? I mean, I'm just looking from the outside in, and based on the things that we've said today, what do you guys think of those kind of three things? You're talking about a sporting commentary show on a Christian radio, for example, that brings people in. They're not just coming to listen to the radio, but they listen to this animated person talking about Man U or whatever. And you're talking about celebrity status of Christian radio, where you have some person who's talking about the thing is, because we don't like to be controversial, we don't like to gossip. So I'm just wondering, what can you actually talk about on Christian radio other than scripture? So that's the other point, and then we're talking social. So let's go.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
I'm red now.
Listen, if you have not logged on to Affinity Extra,
there you go. That's what I want to hear.
If you've not listened to Affinity Extra, then you are absolutely missing out. When I say that this man called Roger Moore has a show called The Edge, sometimes some of us on like some of the presenters, and we're like, God, we hope Ofcom does not catch us, or we doesn't do our thing, because we go there when it comes to like social issues. We go there and we talk about racism. Okay, we talked about injustice. We talk about the times, you know, how the church has been so late to the whole racism thing, and not understood and not realized that this thing actually exists in the church. We've talked about that. We've talked about sexuality. What else have we talked about? We talked about football, racism in football, in sports. We talk about it. We do not hold back whatsoever, and it's all about
question on that. So sometimes when these things happen on mainstream radio, there is a webcam in the studio, the conversation is captured in video, and a snippet of that goes on socials, and people go and listen back on the playback. Do we do that? I'm just, you know, again,
he does it.
We do that.
All the shows Like literally all the shows are recorded, you know, whichever, some of the shows are like, especially the talk ones, the conversational ones, they're all recorded and sometimes they're all videoed. So it's just like, we know that, you know, like I said, radio is evolving and you have to evolve with the times. Radio is it's not only audio anymore, it's now visual. So you have to now be visual. So like the things that you would normally not see behind the mic is now in front of the mic. So you're now engaging in conversations of today. And that's another way to pull people in. When you're engaging in conversations about what's happening in the world right now, you know, the whole COVID thing and all the other stuff, when you're engaging people in, 9 times you might get a percentage of people actually tuning into your radio station and be like, oh, these guys I like what these guys talk about. Okay, let's see what the music that they're doing. They're playing. Oh my gosh, the music is great. You've got people already. Do you get what I mean? So it's literally using other means to pull people in.
Absolutely,
to
I
get
agree.
people into your station. So when I said that radio isn't dead or isn't going to die anytime soon, it isn't, because it's adapting. It's finding the way to get people in, and it's now through online platforms like YouTube and social media and these type of discussions. This is another way to do it. So, and I'm sure Tayo Station, they have those conversations, those difficult conversations, those raw conversations as well. That's how it needs to be now. Nobody should now be shy of talking about, but we're Christians. Oh, but we shouldn't. No, we should. We are human beings. It happens to us, and we need to talk about it.
Do you know what? I'll definitely have to jump in on that, because it's kind of like, I think we've come to a place where, especially in Christianity, people are starting to get tired of the perfect image that's been portrayed, the PR that we've been given, and now it's about actually talking about those real things that people are going through. What's interesting to you? And I think as we start to do that, so what I'd say is that we're already doing these things. Everyone just hasn't caught up yet. So I think it's gonna take a little bit of time for people to catch up. But when you have shows who are just as interesting, just as engaging as shows like Breakfast Club, it's only a matter of time. It's just that people don't know. You see what I'm saying? So now it's just kind of like, I think that radio can definitely go into a new era. I think it can definitely transform, but not enough people are doing the work. I think in the UK we do have a problem as presenters where a lot of us are not actually as good as we should be. A lot of us don't put in as much work as we should, in terms of, like, if you listen to some of the interviews, some of them are fairly, so some of the ones that I've seen, and I'm not saying any names, but some of the ones I've seen are very one-dimensional. There's no element of proper research or rapport, you know, with whoever the guest that you have. And so I think that we can take it to another level. We just need to develop. And I'm talking to myself on that one. It's something that I'm always thinking about. How can I get better? How can my delivery be in a way that it actually engages other people? Because yes, we have the content, we have the product, we have a viable product, right? But it's how you deliver that product that's going to determine how long you stay. So that's just my perspective.
No, that's really valid. And I'm glad you actually said that, because there's ways to go for the radio and radio presenters, and there's room for improvement, I guess. It's interesting that you'd point that out yourself.
Now, I think what the guys are saying, great. I think my advantage is because I have such a non-traditional hat on when it comes to radio. I was able to break the rules, but there is a major comeback that I do have. I do have a massive comeback. We did the subject that hit from Christians, you know, in the industry, because I almost feel like I'm stepping on toes by saying what we're saying, and and just being honest, that too black in my approach, and
too black in your approach of what?
No, we talk too much about black issues.
I see. Right, okay.
And I'll put it out there, I don't get it twisted, guys. I get heavily criticized on the side, and I get moral support from the team, and I go, oh my gosh, did I go too far? Nah, you cool. But and the reality show is that that we need to, in church we've kept so much things away, and we're losing young people. I look at my son, and what people have to see is my drive is my 2 boys. I love people, so it's not just about my 2 boys. My boys are 16, 17. I have to somehow have a platform that they can relate to. So they're my that's my first trial. If they can't listen, if they can't communicate with me, if I can't communicate with me over certain subjects and how they feel, it's a real tough thing, and I feel that we just need to have a connection. Gone are the days we can just say, shh, 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 let's be quiet. All nations want to hear the truth. People, everything's coming out, and they want to hear the Christian voice. And we on radio, you know what I'm saying? We have a powerful part to play in the healing of this nation and the healing way forward. But if we're quiet and we just being at P's and Q's, I feel that that love is allowing other radio presenters who don't have that Christ in them to dominate that conversation, and we now to need to dominate these conversations in the community, but also play great music so they can go, oh yeah, is that still shady going on? And then you go into a segue and you talk about certain stuff, you know. And I just think it's a beautiful platform, but we have got it out there, guys. We have got guys doing radio things. That's why we just want the artists to work with us, and we can push a great conversation.
I think one of the things I was really hoping we could have a perspective on, which unfortunately we couldn't because we don't have Jerry on today. Hopefully I'll be able to get him at a future date, was to kind of assess UK gospel / Christian radio. I know it's almost an unfair comparison to compare how we're doing versus the US, because the US have it's a massive country to start with. It's a massive genre in the country as well. So they have so many stations. Some of them are performing literally at the same level as what would be a BBC, for example. Do you think that, and I don't even know what we're measuring ourselves against as UK gospel / Christian radio, what kind of benchmark are we measuring ourselves against? And do we think we have a long way to go to hit that benchmark? So for example, is it statistics? Is it being able to influence, being able to, influence a generation, influence culture, and just be relevant for the long term? What do you guys as radio people see as almost a benchmark, without necessarily saying we're measuring ourselves against the US, or is it we're measuring ourselves against mainstream? What exactly are we sort of aiming, to achieve or attain, and do we think there's a long way to go to get there?
US has, when it comes to black modern music, US has a major problem anyway when it comes to media. I think what I look to when I did Affinity Extra, what I studied, pull apart the competition and whatsoever. I'll be honest with you, it's not called Affinity Extra by chance. You got a couple of extra and you got one extra. It's not by any chance. That's the target. That's the ones that break down. And the ones who's breaking culture in the UK. 20 years ago, yes, we'll follow US, and we understood. I must admit, I've been influenced by the Breakfast Club, because everyone said that radio was dead. But I'm thinking, how come everybody in the whole world is watching these YouTube videos, these emotional people talking about subjects? But in terms of benchmarks, them the sort of benchmarks that I would personally utilize. But I'm very cute away, because I'm speaking to US artists. Lady T will probably testify more to me more by that, is that our black artists don't get much support from media as well in the US. In terms of the top media, they have the same issues that we have over here, so
a lot worse.
So for me, it's a case of I'm not really watching their media. I want to be trailblazers. We're in the third biggest music market in the whole wide world, so I'm not really watching them. I'm watching what works for how did the platform treated Stormzy? How did they bring him out there? How they're still taking care of the old artists like Wiley? How are they elevating these two artists to be still so successful? So I'm just analyzing. Did they freestyle and bash each other over a 2-month period that brought up their views and plays? It's all them little things that I kind of look at and whatsoever. I don't know if that's key.
I think even before I talk about the benchmark, there was one point I did want to raise, and that's with the music, the new music, and I'm glad you have that outlook about trying to relate to your sons and trying to put new talent out. But we also need to remember that so many of these artists that aren't your traditional gospel sounds have been put down by Christian people, not just the church, just Christian people in general, for the sound that they have. Oh, you rap? Why do you rap? You shouldn't rap because rap is not from God. Oh, you do R&B? Are you trying to be promiscuous and all this sort of stuff? And so I think that doesn't help the whole narrative. Now, in terms of a benchmark, It's funny enough you said about the Breakfast Club, because when we started, that was kind of our first thing. It was just like the Breakfast Club. Like look at how they look at their sort of model. But I think it's an interesting one. I think in terms of looking at how we're doing as a scene, to be fair, for me, it will always be sort of looking at the engagement on social media and kind of looking at the trend. And the reason I say that is because, for example, all I heard before I started was that Christian rappers couldn't rap. They can't rap. Until I went to it's called Rhyme and Reason Show. They do like ciphers, they do drill, they do grime, they do everything. They're really, really dope. And if you haven't heard of them before, go check them out. But I attended one of the ciphers, and I took videos of everyone, because one of my whole thing has always been take videos. You need to capture the moment. I put a clip on our Twitter page for this radio show, and that thing blew up. That thing, people were like, wait, this is Christian grime. This is crazy. So it's just kind of like, okay, looking at the reaction, and if we can see over time that more and more people are starting to retweet these things. Because I think the first thing I put out, I probably got like one like, not even a retweet.
Standard.
You see, when the more exposure you get and the more people who are actually starting to share these things who aren't Christian, for me, that says something. That says people are actually hearing this stuff. Because people are aware of what's going on. People are aware of the scene. The mainstream artists, they're aware of all of these guys who are coming up. But until we actually start to get that engagement, because
they won't be threatened by us.
Do you see what I'm saying? People tweet what they're interested in. People share on Instagram what they're interested in. When we start seeing more of that, we'll know that we're starting to get some sort of traction. And so for me, that's like one small bit of the analytical process, but definitely something that you can use to say, okay, we're getting somewhere.
What do you think, Lady T? Do you think we've got a ways to go? And if you had to put a benchmark, a line in the sand to say this, it would be nice if we hit this, what would that be for you? What would be your ideal?
I think my ideal would be having artists' music played in the US and being recognized, because we play so much of theirs. Because when you look at when you look at the output in terms of UK to the rest of the world music, you realize even across across all stations, you realize that 90% of the playlist is US or other. Even African is starting to take over that now as well. The Afro is starting to take over. So for me, it would be hearing UK gospel artists on US stations. So not just the major, in terms of like the major Christian ones or gospel stations, but then also some of the independent ones, because don't dismiss the independent ones, because they got that power too. Like they got the power. So hearing us on there, and I feel like, it's crazy. I feel like I have this mission to make this happen. Yeah. Somehow, like bridge getting UK into the US slowly. But for me, once I see that, once they start recognizing and they'll be like, oh, we want more of this, oh, we're playing this, we'll play that. For me, listen, we are on it. I mean, and I think it's not far off. I believe it's not far off. It's closer than we think. And I think you'll start seeing things breaking through. But once we see that, then I'll be like, yo, we are making, we're doing great already. And I think over the last sort of 5 to 10 years, UK has really stepped up. It's changing. It's really transforming. Like the output is in the last 5 years, the output has been crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
I can attest to that.
Exactly. And it's stepped up in quality. Yeah. There are some few that, get through the cracks and whatnot, but it's still there. The quality's still there.
Yeah.
But we're on our way, and I'm proud of where we're going and how it's looking. Like I can't say that, that I'm disappointed in the UK. Now I'm actually happy. Like I keep saying it on my show, I get overwhelmed sometimes when I've got so much UK gospel. I'm just like, and when I miss something and I'm like, how did I miss that? I can't believe. Again, artists, send your music in. We need it. okay? Because we're here to support you. We want to make sure that people that you can't reach are hearing your music.
Yeah.
Okay. We have, and here's another thing.
Come on.
As some of us some of the stations. So remember when I said that, radio is evolving, because now a lot of stations are now online. You just think that that people in the UK, a station based in the UK, has just heard UK listeners. Wrong.
No.
We have listeners in America, in the
Everywhere.
Caribbean islands, in Australia, in New Zealand, everywhere. So imagine me playing your song. Someone in Australia is listening to your song, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I really like this."
Mm-hmm.
You just earned yourself a listener. You just earned yourself another stream.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So
Absolutely.
it's so important to really, really like respect and really cherish the radio stations that you have here in the UK.
I think we got that message earlier, Tolu.
Good.
Yeah. If I speak for all the artists, if I may speak on behalf of the artists, I think that has hit home already. Thank you very much.
Good. So that's my thing. So once we see that, and we're gonna keep going. But yeah, my mission is to really just see UK flying and being really taken up in America, especially, and some of the other territories as well. So
I think it will be a good thing to see, and maybe that's going to be the topic for the next Equilibrium Live. I'm not sure how I'm going to word it, but I feel like the UK has so much to offer. So maybe the next conversation will be around, exporting the sound, exporting the UK sound, something like that, something along those lines.
With that, like when we think about like the resurgence of UK R&B as well, like at this point in time, we have a lot of people in America who are starting, like if you look on like Clubhouse, if you hear these conversations, they're starting to turn to the UK a lot more. Like even looking at was it Chip and Stormzy beef? I think it was. I saw a lot of American even the podcasters, bloggers who were talking about these things. They're starting to look in certain areas. And so this is actually a prime time for the music to cut through. It's time. It's literally a good time, because even fashion as well. A lot. I heard some people in New York saying that they're looking to the UK for fashion, and I found that a bit crazy. But
our fashion is better than theirs.
I mean, to be fair, New York, they dress differently. They have good shoe game, but that's
just about it.
I think if you're able to position yourself, and I think branding is pretty much one of the main things that we have to get as artists. Branding. Yeah. If we can get some good branding going on, even if you're not, consistency is important, right? But if you brand yourself correctly, you can actually run a song for a decent amount of time and at least make it cut through, and then start putting your music out. But I think that will always be the main thing and the key driver for us actually getting pushed in America.
Yeah, definitely. And I thank God that we've got so many platforms. Currently, coincidentally, Visions TV have just come and commented, and I was just going to say they have been phenomenal. So they said they're currently playing UK music on a Billboard charted radio. They have been phenomenal in kind of bridging the gap of late, which is really cool. And that's actually really important. So many comments coming up. I just want to share them as well. And Milton of Global Music Link said there's a very specific UK gospel sound that is unique in the world, and the world needs to hear it. By specific, he doesn't mean negative, by the way. There's something that we bring that we alone can bring, and that the world needs to hear.
UK is different. When I mean, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. In terms of UK sound, it is an absolute melting pot of so many different styles involved, and that's what makes it different, because you can't pinpoint it, because there is so many different sounds, and it's crazy. And that's why, that's why I'm just like, I love what we have, because there's so much variety. In America, same sound. Same similar styles, but in the UK there's so many.
I just stop you there though? The reason there's same sound is because there are gatekeepers, Tolu. There are so many different things, so many different sounds you get in the US, but there are gatekeepers. You can't get to certain places if you sound a certain way.
True.
Listen, because I've and you know me, I do all these things. I study, I read, I watch, right? And I've seen trends. I've seen artists that I love who never get into certain places because of a certain way they sound.
Oh yeah,
And
I
you
know.
see certain platforms and certain events and certain opportunities would only be given to people who sound a very certain way. And that certain way is what typically gets exported and gets perceived as the one and only US sound. But there are so many sounds, so many mediocre sounds, I dare say. Okay.
Yeah,
Not everything, not
I've had,
everyone in the US sounds like Kirk Franklin or Fred
yeah,
Hammond.
I've had
know.
artists, American artists, tell me that like exactly what you said. There are some certain people like. So imagine, right? I might as well say this. There's a well-known artist. Okay, he sang one of the biggest songs. Like, oh God, what is it? 2018? I think 2017 to 2018. It was huge. Like, it was crazy. But some stations in the US wouldn't play it. There's a gospel stations in the US, and I was like, he's like, yeah, they didn't want to play it because of the sound, and I was just like, oh my days. And then when you look at, and then it's crazy. But then here in the UK, we're playing it. Do you get what I mean?
Would you say that's because we're still at a place where we're less developed in terms of? So the reason I say that is because I feel like they've had a bit more time to develop the boxes that they're putting certain things in. So when you look at radio play here as well, you still see certain boxes. Your sound has to sound a certain type of way, regardless of, even if it's BBC introducing. I mean, they can play it. They have more leeway to play other types of sounds. But to make it on certain platforms, you have to have a certain type of song. A certain type of sound regardless of your genre. So do you think it's because we are still? Because even think about the UK scene, in general, over the last 10 years, exploded. It's grown exponentially, and then the gospel scene is coming up behind. Obviously there was the golden era, and then it died down a bit, all of those sorts of things, and now we're seeing a resurgence. Do you think that that's part of the issue there, or what do you think?
So the question is
because I think you're saying about it, because we're developing, our ears are more open to
right. Okay.
Basically.
I
don't think we're developing though. I kind of disagree with that. And I speak on behalf of the UK, not just the UK gospel. I'm speaking in terms of the UK music scene. We are not developing. We gave the world the Beatles. Okay, can we just
of course
we're there? It's just for them to recognize. It's just for them to recognize and acknowledge what we have and who we are here. You know, and sometimes, and the thing is sometimes UK can be enemy of progress, because some of our artists will go over there to do what they need to do exactly, and do a lot better, and vice versa. You get some US artists who will come over here to the UK and will do better than they were in the UK, and it's happened.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's happened. So it's relative. If you just don't know, what could work or what could not work. So I think it's just keeping on. Just you have to. I think for us as artists, not us as artists, but for you as artists, it's just important for you to continually develop your sound, continue work on your craft, and making sure that whatever you're producing and who you're working with, it is 100. It can't be less than 100 whatsoever. Work with the right producers, work with the right writers, invest. You have to invest in this thing. And if you can't invest because of money, this and that, step aside for a little bit, and then when you have it, come back. It's okay. It's okay. It's always going to be there. Do you get what I mean? So but yeah, man.
I think that was actually, that's actually probably a good way to wrap it up. Given that we've probably done an hour and a bit, actually, nearly an hour and 40 minutes. So what you've said, Tolu, is actually a nice summary for artists, which is, you know, the quality has to be there. You have to aim for top quality stuff, whether it's UK or targeting Africa, the US, wherever. Ultimately, I always say to myself, I'm competing against myself every time. So I always like to outperform the last thing I did. And one of my mentors asked me once, some years ago, when I was going to release, I can't remember what it was. I think it was a live thing I did. And then he asked me, so when you release this thing, is it going to be a step above what you did last? Because if it's not, then what value is it? You know, and these are the things that we need to ask ourselves as artists. If what I'm putting out there is not better than the last thing I put out, then either go back and make it better. I have songs that I've recorded and I haven't released them because I just felt it didn't add any value. It didn't improve on what I'd put out before. and they're sitting in a folder on my computer. Someday I'm going to go into studio and work on them again and make them better. You know, I've had songs that I'd written, I'd gone into studio, produced, the producer had actually sent it to me and said, it's mastered, sign it off. I'm such a perfectionist and particular about certain things. Even for a song that I wrote and sang, I did not feel convinced that I was delivering the message of the song as much as I could have to convince anyone listening that I meant what I was singing. And so I went and redid my entire vocals on that song. I scrapped everything I'd done and redid it because, again, I'm particular about the standard of quality. Not to say I'm the best, okay, not by any stretch of the imagination, but within our budget, within our ability, we need to aim for as high a standard of quality as we can. And particularly because we are in an industry, yes, the UK music scene could be established, but the UK gospel scene is not quite there. And if we're not constantly outperforming ourselves as artists each time, we're just going to be undulating up and down, up and down. We're not going to have a trajectory of progress consistently. So as individuals, we should be looking at ourselves, especially seeing as we're independent. The label cannot give us, we don't have a label. If we had a label, there'll be certain targets that we need to hit each time we have a project. But we're the artists and we're the label. And so we should be as hard on ourselves as though we were a label and say, is this matching up to my last project? If it's not, why am I putting this out? And we just need to keep getting better each time we put things out. So that would be my tip to kind of wrap things up nicely and put a bow on it for people watching. I know we've got so many radio guys, so many media guys, and I'm hoping we've got artists watching as well. I'm going to repost it so hopefully people can learn. But just to wrap things up nicely, Tolu's already given like a final word. So I'll let Roger and Tayo give a final word like a minute long. A minute long, so we can all go to bed. I'm sure you guys have. Today's Thursday, so there's still work tomorrow. So yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah, man, it's a crazy one. But no, just to end end of notice for all media platforms and all the entrepreneurs in media, my encouragement is to kind of like, just always evolve, never ever stay stagnant, man. You know what I'm saying? Always challenges. Okay, us to say to the artists to do better music and do better this and better that, but we gotta be better the next week. We gotta be our own critic, and we have to do amazing shows, and we have to do our thing amazingly. So that's it. Also to radio guys, we need to step up our game 100%, man.
Right.
Okay.
Speaking of which, do you reckon when COVID is over that radios, and I know this, I didn't want to segue, I didn't want to go off on another one, but do you reckon radios will be hosting events? Because you know how I'm not to say we're copying BBC, but these are things that happen where people go into studio, and these could also, make artists more keen. Like, oh, they've got my music, I'm going to go and sing a song. Are these things that, oh, why did I start? I don't like this. I said we're going to finish, and I've opened up another can of worms.
Yes.
Heads were just about to fall off shoulders, But yeah, do you know what? I think it's very much a part of what, this whole ecosystem. I think the live aspect of things is very much part of it. I can see a lot of, and from conversations I've had, a lot of people are looking to do live events. I think it will definitely be part of these platforms.
Yeah.
There's gonna be no other gigs anyway. There'll be no other big promotion. No one gonna be no big gathering. So I think the natural progression is going to be presenting on platforms, on media, and this is part of how we're going to deliver music going forward. Because as a promoter outside of media, due to the pandemic, reality shows, there's not going to be really big events in our community till next year. You know what I'm saying? So, So we're going to be very important over the next 12 months, and that may change the face of how we digest and eat and communicate gospel music.
Agreed.
And live events, and those live events are great. Like the virtual events, they're great.
Yeah, they
Absolutely
are
great.
They
Absolutely
are.
great. So
but definitely a way to build your following as well. But I'll just say my last one, so we'll just wrap it up real quick. Relationships are so key at every stage. Artist, platform. Don't think you can be an island. Don't think you can do it by yourself, because you're not going to get very far. And if you go far, you're not going to be there for long. So please just see all the people around you not as competition, but as people to grow with. That's how I see things. And,
I love that.
It's longevity.
Cool.
That's a great one. So we're going to leave it with this final word from Tayo. See the people around you not as competition, but as people to grow with, whether you're an artist, a promoter, or even a radio station. So we're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. There's been so much conversation going on Facebook and YouTube. It's been amazing. I'm so grateful to you guys who've joined, on the panel and talked, your hearts. You talked passionately, transparently about the things that you're passionate about, which is music, gospel music, artists, and just the growth of the scene and the genre and the industry. Quick reminder, if you're not on GMIA, go check out the GMIA website. A lot of resources on there, and I'm going to try and repost this onto Instagram so people can watch back, and you can share this as well. Please share this link with anyone that you know, worship leader, songwriter, recording artist, radio presenter, whatever. I think there's a lot of nuggets in here that people can watch back and actually take note of, whether they're aspiring artists or even established artists. So there's YouTube, there's Facebook. Share all the links. Oh yes, before we go, I just want you guys to share your handles in case people wanted to contact you, ask you questions, invite you for gigs, or even send music to you as well. Handles, emails, whatever you're comfortable with.
So mine is on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Lady T Official _ So Lady T Official _ and you can send music to me if you go. So it's Lady T Affinity. What is it? Oh no.
What's
the email again? Can the next person go on and I'll come back? I'll circle back. I need to remember. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roger, that's Lady T Official _ right?
Yes, on Instagram and on Twitter. Okay, got it. So Lady T Official _ on Instagram and on Twitter, and then to send me music. So if you're a UK artist or American or whatever, I do 2 shows on Affinity. So I do a UK gospel specific only, and then I do weekends in the morning. So Lady T Affinity at gmail.com. So it's Lady T Affinity at gmail.com to send your music to. And yeah, hit me up and let's talk it up.
Come on.
All right, I'm just putting that in the captions as well so people can see. There you go. And Roger, how do we contact you?
Oh, how do you contact me? It's quite simple. Listen, guys, I've got a million ways to get to me, but just keep it simple. hit me up on Instagram, man. It's Roger Moore UK. You hit me up directly on my personal account. But the main thing is, what obviously when it comes to music, obviously we talk about radio. It's Affinity Extra. Just find that Affinity and Extra exactly how you see it in BBC One Extra. XTRA at the end. It's raw repart on business. And we hit Extra. Affinity Extra. Do check us out on YouTube. If you got new music, guys, it's as simple as this: music at affinityextra.com. Yeah. Send us your MP3s, no links to Spotify only. But anyway, there's just a little hint out there. But, you know what I'm saying? And Affinity, so definitely music at affinityextra.com. And if you want to hit me up personally, again, build up that personal relationship, Roger Moore UK, and I may take 7 days to get back to you. But okay, you know, disclaimer right there, man. Can't take.
Okay, and Tayo,
Love it.
people wanted to contact you.
Get at me on my socials at Tayo _GT.
Okay.
There. For music submissions, we've got the transition at tribeurbanradio.com. And if you want to get into mixes and all those sorts of things, so that's my personal email at TAI the DJ at gmail.com. And I'm gonna got a lot of stuff coming out this year, so.
Is that the DJ the DJ, right?
THE.
E. Sorry, did I say T? Whatever. THE. Let's hope that looks correct. So that's Tayo _GT, and send music to the transition at tribeurbanradio.com, and for mixes, email TayoTheDJ at gmail.com. Perfect.
Can I just say one more thing? I forgot to say one thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
If you're an artist, do not ever send us Spotify links, Apple links, or
I've done an equilibrium
SoundCloud
on this. I've done a post on this.
If you send that in an email or as your EPK, I'm not going to play your music as good as it is. If I don't have the MP3 or the WAV file, it's not going to get played. So don't send me those links, because if you do, I'm not even going to acknowledge the email.
See, the Nigerian accent has come out. You know this really winds her up. When the Nigerian accent comes out, you know you've wound them up.
My sister.
Oh my goodness. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So no, this has been really good. Thank you so much for, taking the time to chat with me. I really feel honored. Thanks for the relationship that I can actually ring you up and say, hey, jump in the live for nearly 2 hours. Appreciate it. And for everyone who's been watching as well, thanks for hanging, for engaging.
Yeah.
We need to let you go to bed. So
In?
I think I'm going to do one next week. So look out for some posts from me. We might be doing intermittently. I think these conversations are really useful to have, and hopefully people can take something away as well. God bless you all. Have a great night.